A billionaire tech leader in Silicon Valley presented his company's quarterly numbers in very simple English, and then, without skipping a beat, he switched to Tamil to call his mother in Chennai. In London, a British politician gave a powerful speech on national identity while wearing a sari given to her by Indian supporters. In a Dubai boardroom, a multi-million-dollar agreement ended with a handshake and the words, "Namaste, my friend." At first glance, these moments may look like random, unconnected events, but what if I told you they are not accidents at all? What if they are part of a much larger pattern taking place quietly around the world? And here is the surprising part. 9 different nations are not only opening their doors to Indians, but are embracing them deeply as their own. Not through politics, not by force, but through something far more powerful and lasting. By the time you finish hearing this, you may see why some experts believe this could reshape what nationality itself means. Just days ago, the leader of a small island nation stood at the United Nations and declared that his country's greatest export was not sugar, not tourism, but the Indian spirit carried in the blood of his citizens. The entire hall went silent. Diplomats looked uneasy. India's representatives simply smiled. What is taking place goes far beyond numbers, immigration papers, or visible cultural events. It is a rare worldwide trend that even seasoned analysts struggle to explain. These nations look at people of Indian origin and tell them directly, "You are not outsiders here. You are one of us." The statistics are stunning. Across these 9 nations, more than 32 million people of Indian descent are living, working, and thriving. But here is the twist. In many of these countries, they are no longer viewed as foreigners at all. They are seen as locals, as citizens, as an essential part of national life. When most people imagine Indians succeeding in America, they think of CEOs or big corporate leaders. Sundar Pichai leads Google, Satya Nadella is the face of Microsoft, Shantanu Narayan runs Adobe. But that is only the surface layer. Here is what rarely gets mentioned. In some parts of Silicon Valley, Indian festivals are so widely celebrated that they almost feel like public holidays. They are not officially listed on the government calendar, yet try asking a tech giant to run at full speed during Diwali. It hardly ever happens. Work slows down, offices light up, and celebrations spread everywhere. Walk through Fremont, California, and you will see 2nd and 3rd generation Indian Americans chatting with their grandparents in fluent Gujarati or Tamil. Traditions carried from decades ago continue to live proudly in the future. America's immigration system even has a unique clause called the National Interest Waiver. And who benefits the most? Indians. The U.S. government has practically created a system saying, "We need you so much that we will bend the rules." In the last year alone, more than 200,000 Indians received some form of permanent residency. That is not simple immigration. That is absorption. America is not just letting Indians stay, it is actively drawing them closer. Now look at Britain. Once upon a time, Britain ruled India for nearly 2 centuries, taking away its wealth and resources. Today, the story has reversed in ways their ancestors could never imagine. Britain is now proudly accepting Indians as its own. Rishi Sunak has become the Prime Minister. Priti Patel reshaped immigration laws. Sajid Javid held control of the Treasury. But the story does not end with a few names in high positions. Step into a classroom in the UK today, and you may find Indian history described as part of British history. The uprising of 1857 is no longer explained only as a mutiny. It is taught as India's first war of independence. The British Museum's most visited galleries are filled with Indian treasures now displayed as symbols of shared heritage. Curry, once dismissed as foreign food, is now called a national dish. When a country that once treated Indian spices as strange now declares Indian food part of its own identity, you know something deep has shifted. The United Arab Emirates shows another side. Indians there are not a small minority, they are the foundation. Nearly 1 in 3 people in the UAE has Indian roots. That is not an extra detail, it is central. The UAE has even created policies to fit this reality. Schools follow Indian curricula, business practices mirror Indian customs, and even family laws adapt to Indian traditions. In many ways, the UAE has built a second India inside its borders. Dubai's Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid once said openly that Indians are not guests but partners in building the nation. That was not polite talk, it was a statement of fact. Today, Indians can buy homes, run businesses, and educate their children in their own languages, sometimes with even more flexibility than in India itself. The UAE is not simply welcoming Indians, it is competing to keep them. Saudi Arabia goes a step further. For millions of Indian Muslims, Saudi Arabia is not just another country, it is the spiritual heart of their faith. Seeing this, Saudi leaders created special visa categories for Indians, not only for Hajj, but also for year-round religious visits. Entire neighborhoods are designed with Indian lifestyles in mind. Recently, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman made a remark that surprised many diplomats. He said, "Indian Muslims visiting holy sites are not foreigners. They are coming home." For a future king to say, this is not just kindness, it is adoption. Canada has also woven Indians into its national character. The phrase, "diversity is our strength," is more than a slogan there, it is their national belief. Indians are right at the center of this idea. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau not only visits India, but has danced to Bollywood songs in traditional clothes. When the leader of a G7 nation embraces your culture so openly, it signals ownership, not just respect. Canada's immigration system, especially the Express Entry program, rewards education, English skills, and work history. Indians excel in all three. Cities like Brampton and Surrey now have leaders born in Canada who deliver speeches in Punjabi, protect Sikh traditions, and celebrate Indian festivals as Canadian occasions. Canada has not simply opened its doors, it has rebuilt its identity with Indians as one of the cornerstones. South Africa's relationship with Indians is filled with struggle, history, and transformation. Indians first arrived as indentured laborers under colonial rule and later faced discrimination during apartheid. Yet they adapted, endured, and became part of South Africa's very soul. Gandhi's philosophy of satyagraha, non-violent resistance, was not born in India, but in South Africa, where he fought as a young lawyer. Today, when South Africans honor Gandhi, they claim him as one of their own. The government even declared Indians a founding community, not just a minority. When a nation calls you a founder instead of a migrant, it permanently rewrites your place in its story. Fiji offers another powerful example. Nearly 40% of its people are of Indian background. When the British brought them as workers in the 1870s, they were never expected to stay or shape the land. But they did. Today, Indo-Fijians are not just residents, they are central to Fiji's identity. Diwali is a national holiday. Hindi is recognized as one of the official languages. Indian songs play on the radio. Despite political tensions between ethnic Fijians and Indo-Fijians, the two groups have grown into a shared culture. Fiji even markets itself globally with Indian food, music, and festivals. The version of Fiji shown to tourists is often India with an island twist. Mauritius may show the clearest picture of all. Over 65% of its population traces ancestry back to India, yet they proudly call themselves Mauritians, not Indians abroad. This island has blended Indian traditions into its national identity without losing its uniqueness. In Parliament, Indian languages are spoken. Temples worship Indian gods. Festivals fill the national calendar, yet Mauritians remain proudly local. The Prime Minister once said, "Mauritius is not India's colony, India is our motherland." Those words carried raw truth. This was not about politics, but about belonging. Listen to chutney music and you will hear Indian classical tones blending with the lively beats of the Caribbean. Taste the food in Trinidad and you will find curries spicier than Delhi's sitting beside Rhodes, softer than those in Mumbai. Watch Carnival and you will notice Indian dancers swaying to the rhythm of steel drum bands. People of Indian origin in Trinidad do not feel caught between two separate cultures. Instead, they have built a third space, a cultural identity that is both Indian and Caribbean at the same time. Former Prime Minister Kamla Persad Bissessar described it in the best way possible. She said, "We are not Indians in Trinidad, we are Trinidadian Indians." That phrase did more than explain, it created something completely new. It was not a mix-up of belonging, it was the invention of belonging itself. When you look across the 9 countries where this story repeats, a clear picture becomes visible. It is not often spoken loudly, but it is quietly accepted everywhere. These nations are not embracing Indians by coincidence. They are doing so deliberately because Indians carry with them qualities modern societies desperately value: education, hard work, business spirit, creativity, deep culture, and global networks. These are the strengths that make Indians desirable worldwide. Every country gains something unique. The UAE thrives on Indian workers and trade. Britain's healthcare system runs on Indian doctors. America's technology boom depends heavily on Indian engineers and innovators. Canada's immigration plan is built around Indian applicants. The numbers are rarely mentioned but reveal the truth. Indians abroad send over $100 billion back to India every year. But even more surprising is that they spend almost 3 times that amount in the countries where they live. Without Indian customers, the UAE's economy would feel a shock. In Britain, curry houses employ more workers than the steel industry. In the US, markets respond immediately to any policy change on Indian H-1B visas. These are not minor contributions. They are economic pillars. At the same time, India has been reaching out to claim its people abroad through the Overseas Citizen of India card, special investment channels for non-resident Indians, and cultural outreach. The message is clear. You may live overseas, but you are still a part of India. This creates something remarkable, a global tug of war for Indian loyalty. The prize is not just money or skills, but long-term cultural power. Some thinkers argue that we may be witnessing the rise of the world's first global ethnicity. Millions of Indians across different lands speak different languages, follow various religions, and yet hold on to their roots in a way no border can cut. Children in Canada learning Bharatanatyam, grandchildren in Mauritius studying Sanskrit, third-generation Indo-Trinidadians still visiting temples. This is not the fading of culture, it is its expansion. Each new generation adds something new while holding on to what is old. What we are watching is not 9 separate Indian communities. It is 9 mirrors reflecting one larger Indian civilization spread across the world. Each nation values a different side. The United States respects Indian innovation. Britain leans on Indian intellect. The UAE celebrates Indian enterprise. Saudi Arabia honors Indian spirituality, Canada highlights multicultural strength, South Africa admires Indian resilience, Fiji respects adaptability, Mauritius embraces cultural blending, Trinidad thrives on Indian creativity. When you put all these together, they form the complete picture of what India represents in today's world. But here is the twist. India itself is now claiming these countries back, not through politics or armies, but through cultural power. Watch a Bollywood film and you may see stories set in London, Toronto, or New York. Listen to Indian pop music and you may hear Caribbean beats or Middle Eastern rhythms mixed in. Eat at an Indian restaurant today and you might find flavors shaped by Africa, Europe, and Asia. The deeper truth is this: it is not only that 9 nations are embracing Indians. Indians have placed themselves so firmly inside these societies that removing them would leave those nations unrecognizable. This is colonization flipped upside down, not carried out with weapons, but through cultural and social integration so deep that entire countries now depend on Indian communities. Think about it. Britain once tried for 2 centuries to make Indians more British. Today, Indians have made Britain partly Indian, and Britain accepts it gladly. The United States once blocked Indian immigrants. Now it competes to attract them and cannot imagine its technology sector without them. The UAE once existed as scattered desert towns. Today it has become a global hub fueled by Indian business, energy, and capital. These 9 countries are not simply welcoming Indians, they are competing to win them. Canada promises faster immigration than the United States. The UAE provides business freedom Britain cannot match. Mauritius offers cultural security that even India sometimes struggles to give. Each country tries to win Indian loyalty, while Indians choose based on opportunity, respect, and acceptance. What we are watching is extraordinary, a global contest for culture, talent, and belonging, with Indians at the center as the most sought-after community. But this raises hard questions. If Indians can belong fully to 9 countries while still being Indian, then what does nationality mean today? If a person can be fully Canadian, proudly Indian, and completely global all at once, what is citizenship anymore? Some experts call this the start of a post-national identity. Others say it is a return to ancient traditions where culture, not borders, defined belonging. But perhaps it is something new altogether. Indians abroad are showing that you can keep your cultural roots while blending with a new land. They do not disappear into the host culture completely, nor do they stay separate. They create a bridge, a fresh identity that links the old with the new. This is why Indians are not only accepted for their economic roles, but also for solving the modern question of belonging. They show the world that identity does not need to be singular. Belonging does not need to exclude. Loyalty can spread across many places yet remain firm at its core. They prove it is possible to respect tradition while creating a future. As time moves on, this pattern will only strengthen. More countries will seek Indians. More Indians will cross oceans. More societies will adopt Indian practices as their own. What is happening is not only 9 countries accepting Indians. It is the birth of a new type of global community, rooted yet worldwide. Children growing up in this environment will be the first to truly live as global citizens while staying deeply grounded. They will speak multiple languages, celebrate festivals across continents, and carry within themselves the strength of tradition alongside the vision of tomorrow. For them, home will not be a single place but a shared idea across the earth. This is bigger than migration or money. It is the rise of a new form of human belonging that may reshape society in the years to come. These 9 nations are not just making cultural adjustments. They are making bets on the very future of civilization, and so far those bets are paying off. The next time you see an Indian leading a tech firm in Silicon Valley, debating in the British Parliament, building in Dubai, or innovating in Toronto, remember, this is not just one person's story. You are witnessing the outline of a new future of human connection, a future that looks proudly Indian, boldly global, and filled with endless possibility. Finally, Trinidad and Tobago tell a magical story. Over time, Indian traditions did not just survive, they blended beautifully with Caribbean life. Indian food is no longer foreign, it is local. Indian music mixes with island rhythms. Religious practices are celebrated openly and proudly. Indian culture has become so deeply interwoven into the nation that outsiders often cannot separate it from the island's own identity. This is more than migration. This is ownership. What once seemed foreign is now native. It is Caribbean in flavor, but carries a clear mark of India.